Hi boys and girls, I'm Miss Venata and I'm going to be talking about something and then I'm going to read you a story this week and we're going to do a little bit of felt board with our story. But just before we get started with that, I do want to talk about our Zoophonics letters. So we started them this week and we started with the very first letter of the alphabet, the letter A. So every letter has its own sound, obviously, and its own animal. A is for Allie, alligator. And what you do, every letter also has its own motion. So Allie, alligator, you put your arms out straight like an alligator mouth, and you make the A sound. Ah, ah, ah. And so we're gonna say A, ah, ah, for Allie, alligator. So next week, we'll move on to B, and then it goes all the way to Z. So if you want to start practicing these sounds and these motions with your children at home, that would be fabulous. So you're just gonna have to wait and see what the motion is for our letter B. So this week, we're talking about farms, and so I'm going to read you a story. And the title of our story is Away Went the Farmer's Hat. So here we have our felt board that was in the room for the children to play with. And obviously, if we're talking about a farm, we're gonna add our barn. And then, obviously, we need our farmer. All right. Away went the farmer's hat. The author who wrote the words, her name is Jane Moncure. A farmer was in his field one day. The wind blew the farmer's hat off his head. Away went the hat. So here's our farmer. We're going to pretend his hat blows away. We have our farmer with no hat. Up and around, down, on to a horse's head. What a fine hat, the horse said. We also were talking about some animal sounds this week. So if you want to ask your children about what sounds each animal makes, that would be great. Here's our horse, and look, here's his hat. The horse wore the hat, but not for long. The wind blew the hat off his head too. The hat went up and around and down onto a pig's head. And here's our little baby piglet. That has a little big for him, but it'll work. What a fine hat, the pig said. The pig wore the hat, but not for long. The wind blew the hat off her head, up and around and down onto a cow's head. There's the hat blown away. Here we go, we got good old Bessie. Oh, perfect. What a fine hat, the cow said. The cow wore the hat, but not for long. The wind blew the hat off her head and up and around and down onto a goat's head. There's our goat. Oh no, our goat needs her hat. The goat wore the hat, but not for long. The wind blew the hat off her head. The hat went up and around and down to a stream. What a fine boat, the little duck said. And here's our stream down by our pond. And here's our duck. Here we have our white duck. Obviously, in the book, she's yellow. The duck floated along in the hat until she came to a waterfall. Down went the hat, down and around and into the high grass. A rabbit came by. My, what a fine nest for my baby, said Rabbit. The baby rabbit stayed in the farmer's hat, but not for long. And here's our little baby bunnies. like a comfortable spot. They hopped away one by one until the hat was empty. And the wind blew the hat into the air. And up and around and down. Just then, a bird flew by. "My," said the bird, "what a fine nest for my baby birds." The baby bird stayed in the farmer's hat, but not for long. There's our baby bird. We'll put the baby birds resting in the hat. One by one, they flew away. A little squirrel came by. "My, what a fine nest for my baby squirrels," she said. He looks happy about the hat. The baby squirrel stayed in the farmer's hat, but not for long. One by one, they climbed out of the hat and ran down the tree. Now the hat was empty and the leaves were off of the trees. And who came riding by but the farmer on his horse? Let's get our horse back out. And our farmer. "My hat in a tree? How can that be?" asked the farmer. He pulled it down and held it on his head all the way home. His wife tied 2 strings to his hat. "These," she said, "will keep the hat on your head where it belongs." The end. So the farmer ended up getting his hat back after it definitely went on an adventure. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys have a great weekend and we will see you next week. Bye.